Hello, and welcome to our next episode of the TMG Fireside Chat. I'm your host, John Mackey. In this episode, which actually is going to be a series of little mini episodes, I sit down for my annual conversation with my really good friend, John Demeter, the president of Wesco HMB. And for many of you that listen, you know John through his business. He is also the writer, editor, publisher of the Halon Herald, and he has been on this podcast each of the last 4 years. And we usually have an intro to the year, which is this series, and then we also have at some point towards the end of the year, just a kind of a check-in to see how things are going. Over the next couple of days, weeks, so we're going to figure out how we drop these. We are breaking out a 1-hour conversation into a series of little mini episodes. Short form, as they say in the podcast industry. And each of these episodes are going to drop a couple times a week over the next few weeks, and we'll go from there. So hope you enjoy it. Hope you find this information useful, informative, educational, and a worthwhile listen. So from that, let's get rolling. In this episode 18.4, we talk further about industry consolidation and the evolution of the market. We share perspectives on consolidation and what's going on in the market, talk about the impact that private equity is having on the industry, both good and some challenges. Overall, it does solidify the strength of the industry with regard to new technology coming into the market, being able to train, develop the next round of technicians and industry leaders. And then we also talk about the market size and scale and just how big these platforms are getting and what it means and ultimately how it drives technology into our business and how we deliver better services and better customer experiences. So take a listen. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to catch you on the next one.
Unless Novak 1230 fluoroketones get sucked into that PFAS controversy right now and can't get out. Now, I know I've heard the presentation. I believe it. I know it's different. But if they get sucked into that PFAS controversy and can't get out, maybe people are happy doing first fills with recycled FM200, which we would love, by the way. But if it doesn't, if the Paul Rivers, argument and presentation catches and they says, listen, this is different. Here's why. Here's the science. Find somebody that can prove me otherwise. You can't. Then I think that if I'm manufacturing, if I'm doing first fills of fire suppressed system, I'm doing fluoroketone. I'm not even thinking about doing FM200.
So my business has become global. So now I've got visibility to the global world around special hazards. Right. And I've gotten pulled into more conversations following the Paul Rivers PFAS webinar we did, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was the facilitator for that conversation, but then now I'm a touch point. And as I look based on client activity, what we're hearing from OEMs, they are latching on to fluoroketone.
Yeah.
Right, even in the EU, because again, there is no alternative. Yes, the refrigerants have all the pressure, but there is nothing else in the pipeline, and they have all these systems out there that need to be, hazards that need to be protected, and in the right application, the fluoroketones work. I think, and this is the position I've always taken, John, is that it was in the first conversation maybe you and I had coming off of AMAC's announcement and the PFAS issues, 2 years ago. And what that says is, one, educate your market about the hazard or the associated challenges with the juice. Doesn't matter if it's a refrigerant or if it's a fire fluid. Number one. Number two, don't assume just because the specification calls for FM200 or Novak 1230 that that's the right application. Some engineer wrote the specification for the design. But just like we learned from NFP 855 and lithium ion batteries, conduct a hazard analysis and really understand as an engineer what is the right application for the right agent in this space associated with the hazards I have to protect.
Hmm.
All right. And so in some situations, it might be water mist. Some situations it might be inerts, right?
Well,
But it's take a step back and don't necessarily say the specification's right. Test it.
So you're right. You're right about that. And by the way, I think it's on the FSSA conference agenda. Hazard analysis. I think Lee Kaiser's doing a piece on hazard analysis. You're going to be there, right? You're going to be in Florida.
I will be in Florida.
Okay. Um, so there's going to be an uptick in inerts and an uptick in water mist. There should be anyway, right? Which one do you think increases the most? Do you think inerts grab a bigger market share or water mist?
I think water, just because it's so prevalent.
Really?
Well, just because you have access to it. I can put it in a tank. It's cheap,
Mm.
right? And
Is it as effective as the inerts?
no, because again, you have to use so much to put a fire out or control it, right? I
Yeah.
think the inerts, work well. But again, the gas performs a little bit differently than everybody else. And
If
so
you have the space and if you're not going to blow the room up, with the pressure, right?
exactly. Or the
Yeah.
decibel level, I mean, it comes out at what, 120 or 130
Yeah,
decibels,
yeah, 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 yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
more than a rock concert. So,
It's
yeah,
more than a rock concert. That's funny. You're right. Yeah.
I've been in the room when they've gone off. It's not
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you do with the footprint, right? Big systems require a
Big
lot
footprint.
of bottles, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can you consolidate that? I don't know. So, but it's at the end of the day, just do the assessment and figure out what's the right application, what's the right, approach to the system. At the end of the day, we need something that's sustainable, right? Healthy for the environment, healthy for humans in the
Well,
space.
water is certainly sustainable,
This,
and again, PFAS, if we can get through again, uh, I think the latest news out of one of the states was positive. I think Tom Cortina uh got a letter in, was it Oregon or Maine? There was something some positive news came out that a state legislature modified their presentation or their law regarding PFAS.
I think that was Maine. I was on the call for the PFAS task force recently, and they
Right.
shared
Yeah.
that Mike Kamanish,
Yeah.
who's running
Yeah.
regulatory, shared that. Well,
Yeah.
we had a slight win.
But
Go ahead.
on PFAS for a while, so are you, based on what you've seen over the last year or two, regulatory wise, you feel positive about it or negative about it? About
Uh,
the future of fuel fluoroketone.
the future floor ketone, I think, is fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, the bullseye is going after foam first,
right.
right? HFCs, because of AIM Act, have already been kind of roped into that. But I think that the fluoroketones right now are in a fine space. I don't think we're going to see anyone targeting, fluoroketones for fire suppression. The challenge that we have is some of these states are trying to ban, like in Colorado, they're trying to ban ski wax.
Yeah,
And in California,
yeah,
they're trying to ban surf wax. And
yeah,
right,
yeah,
what did Al Thornton say to NFPA? You can't manufacture a BMW car without using PFAS.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Or that shirt you're wearing or the sweater that I've got on, right?
right. I mean, there's PFAS in my phones, our computers that we're
Yeah,
on. I mean, it's all
yeah,
around us, right? So, a
yeah,
water bottle, right? So,
yeah,
it's a much bigger issue. Is there an opportunity for us to do better with plastic?
yeah.
Absolutely,
Hey, by
right?
the way, John, you're in your office. You got to get yourself off plastic water bottles. Come on. Get yourself a stainless steel.
I
You got to get
do.
yourself off plastic water bottles. Come on, John.
I've got my plastic bottle, my plastic bottle, my metal bottle that I
Oh,
cover
come
with the
on.
chair.
Get a
Yep.
get a good filter on your house system. Get a
True.
stainless steel Yeti, and you'll be fine. You don't need those plastic water bottles.
So it's my,
We have, and again, I don't know how, but we have, each one of us, I am told, have in our bodies a credit card's worth of plastic
I'm sure. Yep.
in our bodies, right?
No, I understand. Yes, I need to get off this. Good
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Um, I guess to wrap up that part of it, I think at the end of the day, yeah, as fire protection professionals, we owe it to our communities to be stewards of the environment, to make sure that we're providing solutions that are sustainable over time.
yeah.
I think that fluoroketone is the right path. Um, there are other solutions, water mist and inerts, that we can continue to take a look at, because in the right application, they make sense. And I think there's going to be a long tail for recycling on HFCs, because there really is no alternative on that. And
Big question is going to be, what's the military going to do? They just bought $90 million worth of HFCs. You know that, right?
yeah,
They just bought $90 million worth of it. And I think $15 million of it was 227.
yeah. Well, think of all the military infrastructure that's built around these old legacy systems.
Well, yeah, and you probably know this, but the DoD would hold conferences like that every year. Okay, now what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And finally, they said no one's got any answer. No one's coming up with anything, to replace 1301 and HFC. So they said we might as well buy. They probably have a larger stock right now of HFCs for fire protection than they do Halon 1301, which I think is around 5 million pounds.
Well, let's go back to foam. I mean, in the traditional AFFF foam systems that they had in the Air Force hangars across the world, the Air Force said, you know what, we're going to stop doing foam. We're going just sprinkler.
Right.
Because of all the discharges that we've had, none of them were, due to a fire or an aircraft hangar fire. It was all accidental discharges.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so our detection, everything else seems to work.
Yeah. You know what I think might, and I don't know how much more time you want to spend here, but an issue that more people ought to begin paying attention to, and I think the technical committee at FSSA is the go forward quality and specifications of the HFCs and the fluoroketone and the 1301 that we are recycling.
Yeah.
Right. Starting in 26, every recharge of an HFC system, of an FM200 system, has got to be with recycled 227. Yeah, it's going to go on and on and on. And either somebody in the industry has got to go back and retest these systems with a 90% purity as opposed to a 99 and say, hey, it works at 90. Or they've got to be really concerned about the sampling and the testing of this recycled gas.
Yeah, I think
what's been going on in aviation? We've been flogging this whole thing of purity issues coming out of commercial aviation. I think we finally got the FAA to pay attention to the issue, but that same issue is going to be with us. It's been with us for a while. I don't think anybody's really paid attention, but now that the regulation says you've got to use recycled 227 if that system discharges, and in 2030, that brand new system is going to use recycled HFCs if we ever get to that point. We need to pay more attention to what's going into that tank.
Agree. So I think and I'm not the chemist, but is there an opportunity, right? We've talked about this offline before. You receiving a bottle or a tank full of an agent, gas or fluoroketone, there's no decipherable marker other than what's on that label to say, yeah, this is FM200 or this is Novec 1230 or this is whatever, right?
And does it meet the specification of NFPA?
Right. So
NFPA or UL. UL says that stuff better be 99.9 or 99.6 or 99.0, whatever gas it is. You will never know that until you draw a sample and test it.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the TMG Fireside Chat. Hope you found that information, the discussion worthwhile and informative. Like we do with all socials, please like, follow, share on whatever platform you're watching or listening to this on. It helps to continue to get the word out and spread the network, or spread the word, if you will, and get the network wider across the industry and for those that are interested in listening. For any notes associated with this podcast, you can find them on your listening platform, either the intro that you had for the podcast and or the notes for the YouTube channel with that. So thank you again. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll see you on the next round. Have a great day. Be safe.